The warning from the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased them from the stars. HFY. The stars were quiet, but silence in space was never safe. The fleet of the Zoroth Empire drifted near the border of human space. There, ships shining like cold knives against the dark. To them, it was just another unexplored region, another weak world ready to be taken. Admiral Thalik stood on the bridge of the flagship Iron Fang, his eyes glowing with pride. For years, he had led campaigns against lesser races, crushing them without effort. Humans were nothing new, just a primitive species living on a single small planet. At least, that was what the old records claimed. Admiral, one officer, said with a grin. The humans sent another broadcast. Shall I play it? Thalik waved a clawed hand. Play their threat. I enjoy hearing weak voices tremble. The message filled the bridge. It was not long, not loud. A calm human voice spoke through the static. This is your final warning. Stay away from human space. Cross the line, and you will not return. Then silence. The crew burst into laughter. Some even mocked the flat, emotionless tone of the human voice. To them, it sounded like a child pretending to be strong. Admiral Thalik smirked. They dare to warn us? They do not know who we are. Humans. A race that hides on their little blue world, dreaming of power they do not have. We will show them what true strength is. But deep in the shadows of the bridge, not everyone was laughing. A young officer, Ensign Carvel, had studied the human files more carefully than most. He remembered whispers in the Galactic archives, whispers that were quickly erased. Small notes about wars where humans fought far stronger enemies, and yet survived. Entire fleets went missing near Earth centuries ago. Some records ended with only 2 words, do not enter. Carvel kept quiet, his hands trembling at his station. The fleet pushed forward, crossing the invisible line of space that marked Earth's claimed territory. Nothing happened. The aliens cheered. See? Their warning is empty. Just stories, too. Frightened children. But Carvel felt his chest tighten. The silence was too heavy, too perfect. It was as if something was waiting. Admiral, Carvel spoke at last, his voice weak. Perhaps we should not go further. The archives. The warnings. Thalik turned sharply, his eyes blazing. Do you question the strength of the Zoroth Empire? Carvel bowed his head quickly. No, Admiral. Then watch closely, Thalik growled. You will see how easily humans fall. The order was given. A cruiser fired its cannons at a small human satellite orbiting the edge of the system. The blast turned it into fire and dust. The crew roared with pride. But then, silence again. No counterattack. No angry response. Just silence. Minutes passed. Then hours. It was not normal. Every race they had conquered always screamed, always fought, always begged. Humans did none of this. They only watched. Unknown to the Zoroth fleet. A dozen human ships had already awakened. Hidden in the dark, cloaked by technologies no alien had ever seen, they watched the invaders with eyes colder than ice. On Earth, deep under the surface of the planet, in command bunkers where no sunlight reached, generals observed the intruders. Their faces showed no panic, no fear. They crossed the line, one general said simply. Another nodded. Then they know the price. The order was given with no emotion, no ceremony. Erase them. Back in space, the Zoroth fleet celebrated. Their first victory over Earth, a simple destroyed satellite. Admiral Thalik was already planning his speech of conquest. But then, one of his ships vanished. No explosion, no light, no warning. It was just gone. The bridge fell silent. Officers stared at their screens, confused. Report. Thalik barked. Admiral, the cruiser Bloodfang, it no longer exists. It vanished. From sensors, Valak slammed his fist on the console. Find them. No ship disappears without a trace. But another ship vanished. This time, screens filled the comms before the signal cut off. The laughter was gone now. Panic replaced arrogance. The Zorath fleet looked into the darkness around them, but nothing moved. Ensign Carvel whispered, barely audible. They warn us. The Admiral's hands shook, but he forced his voice strong. Do not fear. They are only tricks. Humans are weak. Before he could finish, a voice broke through their COMS. The same human voice. Calm. Cold. Turn back, or be erased. Words sent shivers through every alien on the bridge. It was not a threat. It was a fact. Admiral Valak clenched his teeth. We do not run from primitives. Forward. But deep inside, even he felt the weight of those words. The stars seemed darker now, the silence louder. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows of space, Earth was waiting. Asterisk, the first violation. From the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased them from the stars. HFY. The Iron Fang drifted forward, leading the Zorath fleet deeper into human space. Admiral Valak's jaw was tight, his pride wounded by the strange vanishings of two cruisers. Yet he refused to show fear. To him, fear was weakness, and weakness had no place in the Empire. Double the scanners, Valak ordered. Find. What is hiding out there? Dozens of alien eyes studied their glowing screens, but the dark gave nothing. No trace of enemy ships, no signal, no energy trail. It was as if the missing cruisers had been swallowed by nothingness itself. One officer spoke in a trembling voice. Admiral, this should not be possible. Even cloaked ships leave energy marks. But here nothing. Valak snapped. Then search harder. The fleet advanced further. They passed ruined satellites, old wrecks of forgotten probes, and dead stations drifting cold. All of them were human designs. Yet strangely, they looked untouched, as if someone had left them there on purpose. Watching. Waiting. On Earth, the human command watched the alien fleet's every move through hidden satellites. In underground war rooms, generals stood before. Glowing maps of space. Should we strike now? One asked. A cold reply came. Not yet. Let them take the first step. When they violate, we erase. The humans waited in silence. Patience was their greatest weapon. Back in space, the Zorath commander grew restless. They dare not face us openly, Valak laughed. Cowards, hiding in their holes. To prove his point, he gave an order. Target one of their orbital stations. Destroy it. A Zorath battleship turned its cannons on a derelict human station circling a barren moon. Blue fire lit the void. The station cracked apart, burning in silence. The crew roared in victory. See? The humans are nothing. No defense, no response. But Ensign Carvel stood stiff at his station, his face pale. He had studied history too well. Admiral, you should not have done that, he whispered. What was that, Ensign? Valak growled. Carvel's voice shook. The warning said not to cross the line, not to strike. We just, before he could finish, alarm screamed, on the far edge. Of their sensors, something appeared, a faint blip. Then another. Then dozens. Ships. They came without a sound, without a warning. Black silhouettes against the stars. Their forms were sharp, predatory, like shadows carved from steel. Human warships. They're here, cried an officer. Multiple contacts closing fast. Panic gripped the crew. Some shouted to open. Fire. Others begged for retreat. Admiral Valak forced himself to stand tall. Hold your ground, prepare to engage. They cannot match our power. But then, the human ships vanished. One moment, they were there. The next, gone. Confusion spread. Where did they go? A heartbeat later, a human ship reappeared right beside a Zorth destroyer. Without a sound, a white flash cut across the dark. The alien vessel tore apart, shredded like paper. The bridge of the Iron Fang shook as screams filled the comms. Another ship gone. They're too fast. Thalic's claws dug into the console. Impossible. No ship moves like that. But the impossible was happening. The humans were not fighting like any species they had faced. They did not announce themselves. They did not roar in glory. They struck like hunters in the dark, silent, precise, merciless. On board the Zorith ships, fear spread like poison. The arrogance from before was gone. Now, every shadow outside the viewport felt alive. Every second of silence felt like death waiting to strike. One officer cried, "Admiral, request parley." Maybe they will listen. But before he could finish, the human voice returned on every channel. Calm, cold, you violated our space. You destroyed what was ours. There will be no second warning. The words hung heavy, each one falling like a blade. Ensign Carvel's hands shook. He whispered what everyone already felt. They are not fighting us. They are punishing us. The bridge fell silent. Even Admiral Thalic's pride faltered. And then another ship vanished. Not destroyed, not broken. Just gone. Like a name erased from history. The fleet trembled. For the first time in his long career, Thalic felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Asterisk. Earth awakens from the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased. Them from the stars, HFY. The void around the Zorth fleet was no longer empty. It felt alive, breathing, watching. Every officer on the Iron Fang kept there, eyes on the black screens, waiting for the next sudden disappearance. "Admiral," a sensor officer whispered, his voice shaking, "there are things moving in the dark. I cannot lock on them, but I feel them." Admiral Thalic gritted his teeth. He wanted to curse the officer for his weakness, but even he felt it too. Something was moving, something silent, something far faster than anything he knew. Then, without warning, it began. A Zorth frigate screamed across comms. "Something is inside our hull." The voice cut off as the entire ship folded in on itself, twisting into shards before disappearing into the black. No explosion, no wreckage, just gone. On the Iron Fang, chaos erupted. Shields to maximum. Raise weapons. Track them. Track them. But nothing worked. Their scanners found nothing. Their weapons fired into shadows. Their shields flickered uselessly against blows they could not see. Then, like predators circling their prey, the human ships revealed themselves. They appeared not as shining war machines, but as silent hunters, angular, sharp, painted black to vanish into the void. Their engines glowed faintly red, like the eyes of wolves in the dark. One by one, they drifted out of the shadows. Dozens, hundreds, more than the Zorith fleet could count. The bridge fell into silence. Even the bravest of officers felt their blood run cold. Admiral Thalic stared at the view with wide eyes. This is impossible. They cannot build fleets like this. Not humans. Not primitives. But the proof stood before him. The human fleet spread around them in perfect silence, moving with a discipline the Zorith had never seen. Not one ship wasted a movement. Not one gun shook out of place. It was not a fleet of soldiers. It was a single organism. A predator. And then one ship moved. It darted forward with speed no alien vessel could match. In a blink, it was beside a Zorith destroyer. A single flash of white light tore across the ship's hull. The destroyer split into two, each half drifting silently apart. The humans did not cheer. They did not gloat. They simply moved on to the next. Fire! Thalek screamed. The Zorith fleet unleashed everything. Blue plasma, ion storms, rail cannons all fired at once. The void lit up like a storm. But when the light faded, not a single human ship was destroyed. They had vanished before the weapons reached them, and then reappeared inside the Zorith formation. The slaughter began. Human ships moved with surgical precision, cutting down vessels in silence. Every strike was clean. Every kill was certain. The Zorith screamed, shouted, begged. But nothing stopped the predators. On the bridge of the Iron Fang, fear crushed the crew. They're everywhere. They're inside our formation. We cannot track them. Ensign Carvel gripped his console, his heart hammering. He had studied the archives, but even those whispers had not described this. Humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like hunters who had done this before many times, against enemies far greater than the Zorith, and they always survived. Admiral Thalek forced himself to stand tall, but his voice trembled. They cannot kill us all. They cannot. A voice cut across the coms again, the same human voice, calm, cold, without emotion. You were warned. You chose arrogance. Now you face consequence. Every officer froze. Thalek shouted into the void. We are the Zorith Empire. You cannot erase us. Silence answered him. Then another ship vanished, and another. The Zorith fleet was shrinking, piece by piece, erased before their very eyes. On Earth, the generals watched in silence. Their faces calm, their voices low. Enemy losses escalating. One reported, "Proceed with the culling." Another replied. Back in space, the Iron Fang shook violently. A nearby battleship exploded into glowing shards, its fire reflecting in the Admiral's wide eyes. "Admiral!" Carvel cried. "We must retreat. If we stay, none of us will live." Thalek's pride burned hotter than his fear. He slammed his fist onto the console. No, we will not flee from primitives. But inside, he felt it the truth that clawed at his mind. These were not primitives. They were something far older, far colder. A race that had learned to fight by surviving. Monsters. And now, the Zorith were just another monster to be erased. The humans did not roar. They did not cheer. They only hunted Dot, and for the first time in his life, Admiral Thalek realized what it meant to be prey. Asterisk the wrath unleashed from the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased. Them from the stars, HFY. Zorith fleet was breaking apart. One by one, their proud ships vanished into fire or silence, erased by the hunters that moved through the dark. Every second, another scream cut through the coms, another vessel lost. What had begun as laughter and mockery now rotted into raw terror. On the Iron Fang, Admiral Thalek stood frozen at the viewport. His hands shook, though he tried to hide it. Around him, the bridge crew no longer looked like warriors of an empire. They looked like prey trapped in a cage, waiting for the final strike. "Admiral!" an officer cried. "Our losses are above 40%. Another voice screamed. "The humans are everywhere. We can't escape them." Ensign Carvel forced himself to speak, his throat dry. "Admiral, we must retreat now. This is not war. This is execution." Thalek's pride cracked, but still he roared. "We are the Zorith Empire. We do not crawl away from primitives." But, even as he shouted, another human ship appeared out of nothingness, slicing through a cruiser like a knife through water. The wreckage scattered, glowing against the dark void. The humans were not chasing victory. They were showing dominance. Every strike was precise, merciless, and absolute. Then, the hunting stopped. For a moment, the void went silent again. The human ships vanished back into the black. Not a single weapon fired. The sudden quiet was worse than the slaughter. "Where are they?" whispered an officer. No answer came. Then the human voice returned. The same calm, emotionless tone that chilled them to the bone. "You have seen our hunters. Now you will see our wrath." The words echoed in every alien ear. And then Earth's true power woke from the far side of the system. The dark lit up. Not ships, not small strikes, but weapons so vast, so colossal, they did not look real. From hidden stations buried inside moons, from war platforms cloaked in black, beams of pure light cut across the void. One shot an entire Zorth battleship. Folded into molten fragments. Another beam 3 cruisers, evaporated at once, erased in silence. The Zorth screamed. Their fleet fired back desperately, filling space with storms of plasma, missiles, ion bursts. But nothing touched the human weapons. The beams kept coming, steady, merciless, unstoppable. Carvel stared in horror and awe. They built superweapons inside their own system. They've been waiting for centuries. One officer fell to his knees, muttering, "This cannot be. They were primitives. They were nothing." But now they saw the truth. Humans had been silent not because they were weak, but because they were patient. They had built weapons in the shadows, prepared for this moment, the day someone ignored their warning. Thalik slammed his fist against the console, his pride shattered, replaced by desperate fury. "Signal the fleet, retreat, all ships retreat." But it was too late. As the Zorth turned, human warships reappeared all around them. No longer just hunters, but executioners. They boxed the Zorth in, cutting off every path of escape. The human voice spoke once more. "You crossed the line. There will be no survivors." Then the true slaughter began. The hunter ships moved in unison with the colossal beams from Earth's defenses. Every second, another Zorth vessel was ripped apart. The Empire's pride, their fleet of conquest, became nothing but scattered fire and drifting wreckage. On the Iron Fang, the crew collapsed into despair. Some begged, some wept. Some simply stared in silence, waiting for the end. Ensign Carvel whispered, "We were warned, and we didn't listen." Thalik's voice was hollow now, broken. "They are not primitives. They are monsters wearing the skin of men." The bridge shook violently. Explosions lit the corridors. Panels cracked, sparks flew. The humans had finally targeted the flagship as the ship tore apart. The last sound to echo across the Zorth channels was not a scream. It was the human voice, cold and final. "Earth does not forgive." And then the flagship was gone. The void grew silent again. The Zorth fleet was no more. All across the galaxy, whispers would spread, whispers of the empire that mocked Earth's, warning and vanished into fire. Whispers of a race once called primitive, now revealed as hunters, executioners, and wrath given form. And in the shadows of space, Earth waited for the next fool who dared to test them. Asterisk. The galaxy trembles from the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased them from the stars. HFY. The Zorth Empire was no more. Its fleet, once feared across half the galaxy, was gone. Its proud admiral erased with the same. Cold silence as his ships. Nothing remained but drifting debris glowing faintly against the endless black. But the story did not die with them. It spread, faster than ships, faster than fleets, faster than fire. Whispers carried by traders, rumors slipping through back channels, secret recordings leaking into the dark nets of alien space. The Zorth went to Earth. They ignored the warning, and they never came back. In the grand halls of the Velari Dominion, alien nobles gathered. Their scaled bodies glittered under golden lights, but their eyes betrayed unease. They say the humans wiped them out in hours. One hissed. Lies. Another spat, though his voice cracked. No primitive race holds such power. But deep down, even he knew it wasn't lies. Across the galaxy, in the cold chambers of the Karen Union, warlords argued around a burning holomap. If the humans truly did this, then they are a threat. One growled, "We must strike first, before they grow stronger." But another warlord slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Strike them? Did you not hear? The Zorith struck first. They were erased." The room fell into silence. The truth was too heavy to ignore, and in the quiet corners of space, the smallest species traders, farmers, nomads spoke in hushed tones. For the weak, the poor, the forgotten, the tale of Earth was not fear. It was hope. "They stood against the Zorith," a merchant whispered. "And they won," another replied. "Perhaps humans are not monsters," said a third. "Perhaps they are guardians." But not all agreed. Some called them executioners. Some called them demons. And some said they were worse, too silent, too cold, too patient. In hidden chambers, leaders debated. How long have they been preparing? If they erase the Zorith, what else can they do? What if their warning is not just for the Zorith, but for all of us? Back on Earth, the war rooms remained dark and silent. Generals stood in calm lines, watching the last of the wreckage. "Burn on their screens. Transmit nothing," one ordered. "Let the galaxy wonder." And so they did. Entire empires began to tremble at the thought. For centuries, humans had been dismissed as weak, primitive, unworthy of notice. Now, the galaxy questioned everything. What else were the humans hiding? What other weapons slept beneath their oceans and inside their moons? How long had they been preparing for a war that had not yet come? The Zorith had mocked Earth's warning. Their empire no longer existed. No one wanted to be next. In the great council of the Velari, one elder finally broke the silence. "I say we stay away from Earth," she whispered. "Forever." Others nodded, though fear kept them quiet. But not. All would stay silent forever. In secret, new plans were forming. Some empires whispered of alliances. Some dreamed of stealing human technology. Some, in their arrogance, even thought of revenge. The galaxy trembled not just in fear, but in uncertainty. Because now they all understood the truth. Earth was no longer just a world. Earth was a shadow in the dark, a hunter waiting in silence, a wrath that erased those who crossed its line. And the question every alien leader now asked, though none dared to speak aloud, was simple. What happens when Earth decides to leave its cage? The galaxy shivered with that thought. Asterisk the silent alliance from the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased them from the stars. HFY. The galaxy was restless. The name of Earth had spread into every council hall, every war chamber, every hidden corner of the stars. Once a word of mockery, now it carried weight. Fear, unease, curiosity. The Zorith were gone. Entire fleets, whole legions, erased in silence. Their empire's banners no longer flew in the void. All because they ignored a warning. For the first time in centuries, the great empires hesitated. But hesitation does not last forever. In a secret chamber on Velari Prime, cloaked delegates gathered around a long obsidian table. Their voices were low, their eyes sharp. "They must not be allowed to rise unchecked," one hissed. "If humans can erase the Zorith, then tomorrow they may erase us." "They already erased one empire," another whispered. "They will erase again." But a third voice spoke with caution. "And if we attack, then we meet the same fate." Silence followed. The chamber split into two. Half demanded fear, half demanded strategy. None wanted to be the next target. In the Karen Union, the warlords gathered once more. A scarred leader growled, We will not sit and wait for these humans to come for us. We must form an alliance, all races together. Some slammed their fists in agreement. Others sneered. An alliance? One spat. Against shadows we cannot even see? Against hunters we cannot catch? It would be suicide. But still, seed was planted. Whispers of a silent alliance spread from empire to empire. Leaders who had once been rivals now sent hidden envoys. Messages traveled cloaked, encrypted, traded through smugglers and thieves. One message repeated everywhere. Join us. Stand together, or one by one, fall alone. Yet not all shared the same goal. Some sought unity, others sought betrayal. Few even dreamed of capturing a human ship, dissecting its secrets, and turning Earth's own weapons against them. The galaxy was split, but Earth said nothing, got no messages, no threats, no promises. Only silence. That silence was worse than words, because every empire knew silence meant watching. Silence meant waiting. Silence meant humans were already aware of everything. On a hidden moon in the Velari system, a secret council finally gathered. Velari nobles, Karan warlords, Siren scholars, even the insectoid clans of the Kier. Enemies who had fought for centuries now sat side by side. The hall was filled with whispers, arguments, promises. They must be contained. They must be destroyed. They must be understood. Finally, one voice rose above the rest. A Velari elder, her scales dim with age. Do you not see? She asked, her tone steady. The humans do not act like conquerors. They act like executioners. They did not invade Zorth worlds. They did not enslave their people. They simply erased their fleet, and then stopped. The room fell quiet. They are not expanding, she continued. They are waiting for the next fool who crosses their line. The Zorith fell because they mocked the warning. What will we do? No one had an answer, but in the shadows above, hidden far beyond the council's sensors, another presence. Watched, a single human vessel. Silent, black as the void dot inside, Earth's observers listened. Every word, every whisper, every betrayal. A general on Earth received the feed and gave a simple nod. They gather against us, he said. As expected. Do we intervene? Asked another. The general's eyes were cold. No. Let them. Plot. Let them dream. When the time comes, they will learn as the Zorith did. Warnings are not given twice. And so, the Silent Alliance was born in secrecy, unaware that their secrecy was already broken. The galaxy trembled, believing it was preparing for war. Earth trembled not at all, for humanity had already decided. The next time an empire ignored the warning, there would be no alliance, no escape, and no whispers. There would only be silence. Asterisk. Erased from the stars, from the story. They ignored the warning. Earth's wrath erased. Them from the stars, HFY. The Silent Alliance had been forged in fear. Velari nobles, Karan warlords, Siren scholars, Here hives, they all signed secret. Oaths under shadows, vowing to act together. Old enemies became uneasy partners. Rival fleets trained side by side. Their goal was simple: strike first. Earth must not rise unchecked. One Velari leader declared, "If we wait, they will destroy us as they destroyed the Zorith." So fleets were built. Thousands of ships. Weapons designed to tear planets apart. Engines tuned for speed and stealth. The galaxy believed this alliance would be unstoppable, but Earth already knew. From the black of space, human vessels watched. From hidden stations buried in comets and moons, their silent eyes recorded everything. Every oath, every plan, every move. The Silent Alliance thought itself clever. To Earth, it was only predictable. When the day of attack came, The Alliance moved like a storm. Fleets surged toward Sol, blotting out the stars. Millions of soldiers aboard, weapons ready, hearts pounding. They cannot withstand this, a Quran general sneered. Not even monsters can fight the galaxy itself. Confidence grew with every passing moment, until they crossed the line. The moment their ships entered the Forbidden's boundary, Earth's silence broke. You were warned. The voice rang in every channel, calm and merciless. It was the same voice that had haunted the Zorith before their fall. The fleets faltered. Some captains hesitated, but pride, fear, and arrogance drove them forward. That was their mistake. The void tore open. From the black emerged not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of human ships. Vast carriers, spear-like destroyers, cloaked hunters. More ships than any Alliance leader thought Earth could ever build. They came not from Sol alone, but from hidden outposts across the system, rising from shadows like predators long caged. The battle began. Alliance ships fired in desperation plasma storms, missiles, beams. Space burned with light. But the humans had been waiting for this war. Their weapons cut through fleets like paper. Every second, another alien flagship fell. Every volley, another fleet crumbled. Yet Earth did not simply destroy. They dismantled Dot entire. Enemy formations were erased with perfect precision. Communications jammed. Engines disabled. Ships split apart before they could even fire Dot. It was not war. It was execution. On board the Velari flagship, their council screamed into chaos. Do they have so many ships? How did they build all this? This is impossible. But deep down they knew. Humans had been building for centuries, preparing in silence. While the galaxy mocked them, they sharpened their blades in the dark. The battle lasted only hours. The silent Alliance, thousands of ships strong, was gone. When the last alien vessel broke apart, silence returned once more. Dot in the shattered void. The human fleet hung motionless, like predators who had feasted, and the voice came again. This is the last warning. To all who hear these words, Earth does not seek war, but those who cross our line will be erased from the stars. The message spread across every channel in the galaxy. No one could stop it. No one could deny a Dot, and so fear became law. The Velari Dominion fell silent. The Karen warlords no longer roared. The Siren locked their gates. The Kyr burrowed deep into their hives. No empire dared to approach Sol again. Among the weak, among the forgotten, the story grew into legend. Humans became not demons, not conquerors, but a force beyond Measurath wrapped in silence. Generations later, alien children whispered the tale like a warning in the dark. Do not go near Earth. Do not test them. Do not cross their line. The Zorith had mocked it. They were gone. The Silent Alliance had defied it. They were gone. And still Earth waited, silent and patient, watching the stars, because their warning was not just for today. It was forever. Asterisk.